You know Britain as an island. A stretch of water separates it from the rest of Europe, and you've never questioned that fact any more than you'd question the shape of a cloud. Islands are just islands. That's how the map has always looked, except it hasn't. Not for most of human history. 8,000 years ago, you could have walked from what is now London to what is now Amsterdam without getting your feet wet. A vast, low-lying stretch of land connected Britain to the European mainland, covered in rivers, marshes, forests, and hunting grounds. Archaeologists call it Doggerland, and for thousands of years, it wasn't a footnote. It was home. What if that land had never disappeared? What if Britain was never an island at all? To understand what changed, you have to go back to a moment most people have never heard of, even though it may be one of the most violent single events in the story of prehistoric Europe. Around 6,200 BCE, off the coast of what is now Norway, a section of the continental shelf gave way. Not a small landslide. A collapse involving roughly 180 miles of seabed, releasing an estimated 3,500 cubic kilometers of debris into the North Atlantic. Geologists call it the Storegga Slide, and it remains one of the largest submarine landslides ever documented on Earth. When that much material moves that fast underwater, the ocean has to move with it. The resulting tsunami tore across the North Sea, and current research suggests wave heights may have reached as high as 20 meters when they struck low-lying coastal areas. 20 meters. That's not a wave. That's a wall. Doggerland sat directly in its path. Here's what makes this different from most ancient disaster stories you've heard. Doggerland wasn't an empty landscape waiting to be swallowed. It was populated. Mesolithic hunter-gatherer communities lived across it, following herds, fishing its rivers, building their lives on ground that, geologically speaking, had already been shrinking for thousands of years as sea levels rose after the last ice age. The Storegga tsunami didn't create that slow disappearance. It accelerated it violently in a single catastrophic afternoon. Do you know what evidence survives of the people who lived there? Not ruins, not cities. Fishing trawlers working the North Sea have, for over a century, occasionally pulled up fragments from the seafloor. Mammoth tusks, antler tools shaped by human hands. In 1931, a trawler called the Kalinda dragged up a barbed antler point, clearly crafted, clearly ancient, from a chunk of peat lying more than 20 miles off the English coast. That object had been sitting on dry land once. Now it sits under roughly 100 feet of water. The archaeologist Bryony Coles, working in the 1990s, was one of the first researchers to argue that this submerged region deserved serious, sustained study rather than being treated as a geological curiosity. She's credited with popularizing the name Doggerland itself, drawing on Dogger Bank, the shallow sandbank beneath the North Sea that marks its highest surviving point. Coles didn't just want geologists interested. She wanted archaeologists to treat this as a lost country with its own rivers, its own hills, its own vanished communities. More recent work has taken that idea even further. Researchers including Vincent Gaffney, working with detailed seismic survey data originally collected by oil and gas companies mapping the seabed, have reconstructed sections of Doggerland's ancient landscape in remarkable detail. River channels, lake basins, hillsides, an entire buried topography, mapped not through excavation but through sonar data never intended for archaeology at all. Think about that for a moment. The tools built to find oil beneath the North Sea ended up revealing an entire lost world instead. So what actually happened to the people? This is where the story resists easy answers and where it becomes genuinely strange. The tsunami almost certainly killed people living along Doggerland's coastlines at the moment it struck, but Doggerland itself didn't vanish overnight. Sea levels had been rising gradually for thousands of years already, squeezing the landmass smaller and smaller, pushing communities toward higher ground that itself kept shrinking. The Storegga event was a violent, sudden blow layered on top of a slow-motion catastrophe that had already been unfolding for generations. Imagine living somewhere your grandparents remembered as larger. Somewhere your parents already described as shrinking. And then, in a single day, an ocean arrived that no one could have outrun. Now hold that scale in your mind and ask the real question. What if the Ice Age had ended just slightly differently? What if that particular section of Norwegian seabed had never given way, or given way somewhere else entirely, missing Doggerland's coastline by chance? Britain, in that version of history, likely never becomes an island at all. It stays what it was for most of the time humans have lived there, the western edge of a single, continuous European landmass. No English Channel separating identity, language, and politics for thousands of years. No natural moat that shaped centuries of military history, from Roman invasions to Napoleon to the Second World War. An entire geopolitical story, rewritten by geology rather than by kings. Does an island nation even develop the same culture if it was never actually isolated? You don't need to answer that fully to feel the weight of the question. National identity, language divergence, naval power, immigration patterns, the entire concept of island mentality that historians still debate today, all of it may trace back, at least partially, to a landslide off the coast of Norway that most people have never heard of. The historian and archaeologist Clive Waddington, who has led fieldwork attempting to locate submerged Mesolithic settlement sites in the North Sea, has described Doggerland's disappearance as one of the last great population displacements in prehistoric Europe, one that left no written record and almost no physical trace beyond scattered tools and drowned river valleys. It's a migration story with no survivors left to tell it directly, only sediment, sonar, and the occasional antler point dragged up in a fishing net. You live your entire life treating the map as fixed. Coastlines feel permanent. Borders feel geological, inevitable, older than any human decision. But the ground beneath Britain's claim to separateness was, for most of human history, simply ground. Connected, walkable, ordinary. It took one of the largest submarine landslides ever recorded, layered onto thousands of years of slowly rising water, to turn a peninsula into an island. You were taught to think of Britain as naturally, permanently separate from the continent beside it. It wasn't. For most of the time, humans have walked that land. There was no water to cross at all. What changed everything wasn't a war, a treaty, or a king's decision. It was 3,500 cubic kilometers of ocean floor, giving way off the coast of Norway, on an afternoon no one alive today will ever be able to fully reconstruct.